really happening under the surface. And in case you want to know, I'm kind of considered by some to be a social media influencer, but I don't consider myself to be that. I'm a financial scientist. I got my PhD in 2002. And so I personally think that it's a little bit deeper than talking about economics, a little bit deeper than just sounding good on Instagram. But that's part of the process. And I think social media is a valuable tool for the sharing of ideas. When I started to talk about Black wealth and Black economics back in '06, '07, I remember seeing the internet and YouTube and all that and kind of thinking, I bet you. And I did the math in my head and I said, instead of me teaching 30 people in the classroom, maybe I can teach 30,000 people at once. And that was literally my logic. And one area where I'm kicking myself, you talk about missed opportunities, is I started my first YouTube channel in 2007, and I got a lot of subscribers really fast because nobody was on YouTube. But the thing was, something happened, and I think that my content ended up getting banned because I didn't really think about like the copyright stuff at that time. Like nobody thought about all that. And I said, "Oh, screw this thing." And I just left YouTube for about 6 years. And it was in like 2013 where I remember just kind of noticing like, okay, this YouTube thing seems to be taking off again. A lot of people are getting on YouTube. So I got on YouTube. And again, I didn't even realize, like in hindsight, that was early. 2013 was early too. Like 2007 was super early. If I'd really pushed hard in 2007, I think I would have had 10 million subscribers. But even with 2013, it was very easy to get. I know like on one channel, I have like about 550,000 subscribers. I have another channel with almost 400,000 and another channel with 200,000 and another channel with 80,000. And so it was very easy to kind of still build that. It's much harder now. It's harder now because everyone kind of later on around the pandemic kind of figured out that the internet was kind of cool. For a long time, nobody did anything on the internet. Or I'm gonna say nobody, but a lot of people didn't because they thought that this other stuff like TV and whatever was better. And I think when the pandemic happened, that's when even the celebrities like the Shannon Sharps and people like that started saying, "Oh, wait a minute, there's like this really big thing happening online. Maybe I should look into that." So that's kind of been the evolution of social media. From my perspective, also things have changed in terms of the business models. Back in the day, people will create these websites and have a product on their website and do really well really fast. Like Jamarlin and Martin from Bossip. They were making 15-20 million dollars a year just from their little blog. And then what happened was that monetization model changed because what would happen is the companies would give money to these agencies who would then distribute money to the bloggers based on the amount of traffic you had. You would get ad revenue from that. And so the agencies were like, why should we give money to the bloggers when we can just keep all the money ourselves? So what would happen is you would get paid like money per thousand, per thousand visitors. Like maybe it might be $25 per thousand. So if your article has 10,000 views, you make 250 bucks, or if it had, 100,000 views or something, maybe you can make 2,500 bucks. But then it went down from like $25 per thousand to crazy numbers like 25 cents per thousand. So then it became a really difficult, almost unsustainable business model. So one thing about business that this makes me think about is that whatever industry you go into, whatever type of business you start, and how many of you, anybody, how many of y'all are business owners? Give me a yes if you either own a business or plan to own one, or you're planning to build something, or you want to do side hustles or something. Everybody, any entrepreneurs in here? Um, or entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are people that just kind of want to become entrepreneurs. Just know that whatever you do, it's going to constantly change. And when you see an opportunity, you should probably move on it because the world is going to change on you and that opportunity may disappear. That's really true, especially now, given that AI is just here and it's growing and a lot of people are not paying attention. I was amazed by how many people I know who don't even use things like Chat GPT and stuff like that. I was like, "Ooh, you might want to pay attention, because AI is pretty soon. I think within about 5 years or so, AI is going to be smarter than a PhD scientist. So if you have AI, it's like having 100 PhDs working for your business, and so ultimately, just making your move." Brainstorming with other smart people, like in your family investment clubs, or maybe things you're doing in the Black Business School, or people you meet at the All Black National Convention. Just talking. Like, don't even make it a pressure thing. Like, don't pressure yourself. Just talk. Like, hey, let's just get on a Zoom and just talk about stuff, right? You will be amazed what comes up just from just talking to people, and I think that that's a better approach than like trying to do everything in a silo and in a vacuum. You're not as smart in a vacuum as you are with other people. And this is not just something that I'm sharing with you for your sake. It's something that I have to remind myself of because I'm naturally an introvert. I'm naturally an introvert, and you know how it is when you're an introvert. I have my most peace. I don't know, maybe I'm on the spectrum or something. I got to check into that. But anyway, it's like you get tunnel vision. You're okay being by yourself. I like peace and quiet because I can focus because it's almost like a type of meditation that helps me think and understand the world better. And and that's good for coming up with unique ideas. And that's been helpful, right? So, because sometimes I'll say something and people will be like, I never heard it said like that before. I never thought of it like that. And I'm like, yeah, me either until last week. And because I was thinking about it over and over again, and I realized something that I wouldn't have realized if I hadn't thought about it 47 times, right? And that's also what makes me strange, right? It's also what makes me say things sometimes where people are like, "What in the hell are you talking about? That's crazy, man. What's wrong with you?" Right? It's like, no, no, no. You'll get the same thing. Just go sit and think about it. You haven't processed it, right? So that's good, but the downside of being an introvert, this is for my fellow introverts, is that you miss out on ideas that are outside of your own. It's very hard for you to see the world in any way other than the way you were trained to see it. That's it. If you get caught in that trap of only having one type of vision, that's your vision, and that's the only vision, which is pretty much a big chunk of the world now because everybody's like fighting each other over like Democrat, Republican stuff and all that. Then I think that really, really limits your possibilities. And this is a consciousness exercise right now. We're doing a consciousness exercise because consciousness isn't just leveling up, consciousness is broadening out and is going to additional dimensions of existence, right? So if I can only see the world from one perspective, then my consciousness is limited because I cannot imagine what my perspective looks like from to the person over there. I can see what I see. Do you understand? I have a first person visual on everything that I believe, everything that I see, but I can't see what I see from over there. I don't know how I look, but to that person over there. All these are types of consciousness because it requires little tools like empathy and our ability to really connect and truly relate and understand other people's perspectives, and people just don't do that anymore. Nobody's really encouraged to do it, or when you say people should do it, people just get mad and they just want to argue and fight and all that. And I can tell you that this hurts you not just in terms of just what kind of human being you are, it also hurts you when it comes to business. And and again, this is not just me telling you this. This is me reminding myself of this because let me just tell you what happened this weekend when I was in Atlanta. Some of you were around for class this weekend, so you know kind of a little bit of this. But I was in Atlanta. I went to the Black Business Conference with Dr. Ken Harris. I highly recommend it. He's a great guy. Just amazing. Booker T. Washington started that organization, and I can just tell you also, like the individuals in that organization helped me understand Booker T a lot better. If you just write him off as some sort of Uncle Tom, I think you're missing the greatness of this man. I mean, this man really was extraordinary. And to the point where there are people that even speculate that they killed him, that somebody killed him. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what that's what the story is. And when I was there, I was meeting all these people from different parts of the world. I was meeting, I met a 40-year-old black man who builds houses. I met another brother he's actually from the Nation of Islam who had built an engineering firm and his kids worked for him and he homeschooled his kids. His kids never went to school. Again, I love the Nation of Islam because they have this thing called common sense. Like, why would you let your enemy educate your kids? And they're also action oriented. They're like, no, you're not going to educate my child. And I just respect that, right? I just think it's enormous, and I also respect builders. And he literally was a builder. I think he was able to build houses too. So you have builders, and you're building a business, you're building homes, you're building your children in the right way, and I think that's a recipe for success. His children were very successful as a result of that, and so as I was meeting different people, I just sort of started seeing just so many different perspectives. And then I walked over to InvestFest, which was a different kind of vibe. The Black Business Conference, most people were dressed in business attire. The age range was maybe from the 20s, maybe 25, as high as 75. probably more so in the 40s, right? But I did meet a young woman named Ketchy. I told you about Ketchy. Ketchy, she left an impression, and she was super smart. She was 30 years old. She read all the Dr. Claude Anderson books and was eager to be around business people that could help her kind of see things and grow and learn. But then I went to InvestFest, right, which has a different kind of approach. InvestFest, to some extent, they're deeply connected to hip hop culture. I think 50 Cent was there, and Steve Harvey and Tyler Perry and things like that. And I went over there mainly because D1 was performing, and D1 is my buddy. Y'all know this, and so I was supporting D and just kind of walking around, and I was seeing a lot of younger people. I saw people maybe in their 20s and 30s, and I got perspectives from them. I talked to a ton of them. A lot of people were stopping me, and if you were one of those people, I appreciate that very much. It was nice to see you and hug you and everything else. And I was just there to learn. I was learning and observing and just kind of seeing different ways of kind of viewing this economic thing. And so, one conclusion that I came to that made me really happy is I said, "Man, this is what's up. This Black economic revolution is going full throttle right now. And I think it's only going to get bigger from here. I think this is just the beginning. This is the infancy. This is what I used to dream about. I told you all that Martin Luther King, his unfortunately they limited him before his death to this dream of little black girls and little white boys holding hands and all that. That's not I mean, you can hold hands whoever you want, but that's not my dream. My dream was something like InvestFest, something like the Black Business Conference, where you've got just thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of black people who are unified around one idea. We're not unified around Democrat, Republican. We're not unified around gay, straight. We're not unified around male, female. We're not unified around other. We're unified around economics. Tell me if you agree. Like, I think that if I walk in and I say, Black people, we need to build generational wealth, it's going to be almost like unanimous agreement. Like, let's test it right now. Do you believe Black people need to build generational wealth? Do you believe that we should have a legacy for our kids? Do you believe that we should have higher income? Do you believe we should own property? Right? All these things are easy ideas to rally around. And I don't even need to know if you're a Democrat or Republican. I don't care if you're from the North or the South. I don't care if you're tall, short, gay, straight, male, female, young, old. We all like, yeah, let's get Black people money, right? And so to me, that's a beautiful idea. That's the opening that can help us run the ball to the end zone without any friction, with minimal friction. There's not a lot of disagreement. So I was at InvestFest, and I thought it was so great. I was watching this guy. He's the master investor. That's what his name is. I don't know his actual name now. I can't remember his name. But I met one of the founders, the Troy guy. He was very nice to me. We shook hands, and he said, "You've been working out?" I said, "Well, when you get past 40, you better work out or you're gonna get fat." So I guess I had to, I got my little muscles and stuff. Because I didn't tell him I'm in the 5 a.m. club like 25% of the time. But anyway, Ian Dunlap, that's his name. Yeah. So he's doing this presentation on day trading, which I have to tell you the truth, here's what the research says about day trading. You got to be careful about it because in day trading, the studies show that about 10% of day traders make money, 90% of day traders lose money. Right. So this is one of the reasons why I don't do a lot of that. I don't, the candlesticks I know all that. We saw that in grad school. And when I was in my PhD program, they pretty much told us like, don't endorse that. That is not, but it doesn't mean that it's fine. It's fine, but it's not easy and simple, right? Like, for example, when I mentioned like the $5 a day plan and I say, just buy some S&P 500 stocks and do it consistently and your wealth is definitely going to grow. This has been proven to consistently work for anybody who does that basic thing, right? Whereas day trading is a little more complex. It has ups and downs, but I understand why people want to participate in it. So it's not in any shade toward those who like day trading. I personally just don't really get into it that much because it's, you know, because of that, right? But what I was impressed by was I just saw him doing this presentation, and it was right before D1 was about to speak. And I was like, wow, this is so great to just see all these like young people, thousands of them sitting in this room and taking notes, like intensely paying attention to this conversation about stocks in the stock market. Because I've mentioned to you all, I think you can keep it to make it as simple as possible. Here's what you got to understand about the stock market. The biggest mistake you can make in the stock market is to not participate at all. That's the biggest mistake you can make. So what you got to understand is that the first step to being a millionaire or being wealthy is acting like wealthy people, doing what wealthy people do. Most wealthy people are in the stock market. So if you think you're going to be wealthy and not touch the stock market, well then that's like saying I'm a I'm going to drive across I'm going to get across Cincinnati in 5 minutes but I don't have a car. Well, if you don't have a car, you better take a Uber or something. If you think that's going to happen on foot, that just physically does not work. So, generally speaking, most regular people, other than maybe celebrities or something, have a very difficult, if not an impossible time to build wealth in an inflationary economy without participating in the stock market. That's where the money resides. So I thought that was really cool. I wrote my dissertation on the stock market. I said, this is what I love. I love like helping young people understand you got to participate. And he said one thing that I just loved and I agreed with was he said he got them all to commit to investing every single month. And I said, good. Good. You form those healthy financial habits. Now, there's still challenges a little bit with hip hop culture. I think there's some areas of hip hop culture we got to fix. And that's another reason why I applauded them for bringing in D1 because he's another guy that sees that and he's working actively to fix that. And he's doing a great job with that. Because if you don't fix your culture, then you're not going to really have wealth. All the money that comes is going to be like Mexican food. It's going to go in and go out at the out the other end real quick. So you sort of understand what wealthy people do, you also have to embrace the idea of wealth preservation, which unfortunately is a little bit more conservative. It's a little bit more of a conservative idea. It just says, I'm going to conserve my wealth. That's how I'm going to stay wealthy. I'm going to get rich and stay rich. And here's why I want to get into social media influencers a little bit and some of the data, because actually social media influencers are not, they're great at sort of developing influence and maybe getting some income from that, but they're not so great at building wealth and preserving it. And I'm gonna share some stats to kind of help you guys understand that. And by the way, just a reminder, I'm gonna send out one more time later on today that list of cybersecurity stocks. So if you want to get that list, just get on the text list. Text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. That's morning to 87948. And also, if you want to take a look at that training, how to make money without working, the stock options training, just text the word money to 87948. So you can get on multiple lists if you'd like. It's totally up to you. So text money to 87948 if you'd like to see that. All right. So here are some stats on social media influencers and why there's kind of an economic danger to what social media influence does to us, mentally and otherwise. So, first off, there's a 2023 study that found that 12% of social media influencers who earned over $1 million annually face bankruptcy or severe financial distress within 5 years due to lifestyle inflation and poor financial management. So, basically, what they're saying um, is that after you get rich, there's a huge cost to acting rich. And when I say acting like wealthy people, I'm talking about the getting rich part. But the where you don't want to act like some wealthy people is the whole idea of throwing your money away as a sign of wealth, right? So a lot of Instagram flexing, showing off, keeping up with the Joneses, letting everybody know how well you're doing. Not only is that dangerous and problematic, but it's also a wealth killer, right? So a lot of the social media influencers who might, I don't know, take pictures of themselves on a private plane because they bought a private jet to sort of show off on Instagram. There's a consequence to that, and it leads to bankruptcy. Also, the other thing about being a social media influencer, and I've seen a lot of people who want to be social media influencers, and I would say if you're not prepared to really, really commit to it, I don't know if I would do it because most social media influencers don't make very much money. Let's see. According to another study, they found that in 2022, they did this study. They said only 4% of social media influencers earn more than $100,000 a year, while over 60% earn less than $30,000. So if you're thinking about trying to be a social media influencer, I would encourage you to really pick your niche very, very carefully and really commit to that. That means making the content consistently and regularly and finding your people as quick as possible and understanding product development and things like that. Because if you don't do it right, you can end up very frustrated and feel like it's not paying off because it doesn't pay off for most people. So you got to be really careful with that. They said a lot of social media influencers end up having tax issues. Also, spending habits. They said that 45% of influencers spend more money than they earn, relying on credit to fund their lifestyles. Did anybody see where there's a story where there were two young ladies who were basically known on Instagram for how much money they had, and they both got arrested for drug possession, like they were because they were literally transporting dope across state lines to fund that social media lifestyle. And this is where it's very dangerous when you have people that are, say, 25, 26 years old that are making money, more money than people twice their age, and they didn't get a trust fund or anything. They somehow magically found a way to make all this money. And unfortunately, sometimes it's because they're doing anything necessary to get that money, and that can have a consequence. Also, they said 65% of influencers confess that they have little to no formal financial education, leading to mismanagement of earnings, poor investment choices, and insufficient savings. And that's really true. Without naming any names, I will say that personally, I have seen a lot of financial influencers where they'll talk and they'll explain something, and I'll be sitting there like literally biting my tongue because I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, this is so incorrect." And but everyone likes them because she's cute, or because he said it in a rhyme, or whatever, like the person has swag, or whatever, they from the same hood. And I'll be like, ugh, I think this is wrong, like this is not accurate information. How do I say this without sounding like a boomer, or just an uppity professor? I'm not trying to be better than anybody, but I think having accurate information is really important. And so as we sort of move forward with this economic revolution, which I think is extremely powerful and valuable, you've got to make sure that there's some space in there for truth, or some sort of understanding of, like, okay, what actually fits, what actually works and what doesn't. Because I see a lot of people who say, "Yeah, I want to invest," and then they're investing in all the wrong things, making all the wrong moves, and then it doesn't work out, and they say, "Ah, investing sucks." It's kind of like dating, like people don't, like usually if somebody says, I hate men or I hate women, and because this keeps happening to me, it's sometimes it's because they're approaching dating in the wrong way. They're picking the wrong people. They're handling situations in the wrong way. They haven't studied it. When I was dating, I don't know if I ever told y'all this, but because I'm a student and a teacher, I was like, well, if I want to be good at this dating thing, let me just read a book about it. I kid you not. And to be honest, I don't know if it's TMI, but when I first started having sex, I was like, I want to understand how to do this well. So I read this book. It was like, what was the book called? It was called don't tell my wife, because she'll probably be like, boy, she shouldn't be talking about this publicly. The book was, oh, you know what it was called? I went to the library. This is back in the day, you had to go to the library, right? That's why I got the gray in my beard. The book was called How to Make Love to a Woman. Woo! And let me tell you, it worked. Everything in that book worked. So my simple argument is that everything you need to know about life is in a book. Open the damn book. Or as my friend Constance Carter says, she'll be at the convention too, by the way. She says, Google that shit. Like, look it up. Stop trying to solve problems yourself when the answers are everywhere. You're 25 years old trying to figure out life. Go talk to a 45-year-old. Talk to 10 of them. Ask them the same question. You'll get 10 different answers, and then you're gonna what do they call it? Triangulate. You're gonna triangulate your way to a solution. Information is power. Seek knowledge. That's if you want to know the key to one of the keys to happiness, knowledge is the cousin of happiness, in my opinion, because if you have knowledge of self and knowledge of the world, then you'll understand how you operate and how you need to fit yourself into the world. So the best thing that I learned, it just came naturally, because all through my PhD program, all I was doing was reading books and thinking about things. That was the best thing that ever happened to me, because now when I have a problem, I'm like, okay, let me go look some stuff up. Let me talk to some people. Let me go figure out the answer. The answer's out here somewhere. It's got to be somebody else has gone through this. And then understanding the world means you can say, okay, I don't want to be over there. I want to be over here. I don't want to do this. I want to do that. No, I don't think I want to try smoking crack, because that's bad. I think I want to go. I want to run marathons instead. Another book that I read that was really great was called I read it when I was 30 years old, and it was called What Women Want Men to Know by Dr. Barbara DeAngelis. And she wrote a book also for women to understand men. And that was really powerful because I did not know that women were so different. Like y'all just I was reading this like, oh my God. Like I was no way. Like this lady's crazy. She's making this up. And I would ask my female friends, I would just read stuff. She would have little lists like the top 10 things that turn women off. And it would just be things that seem weird to me, like I don't know, like when your feet are too big, and or or you burnt the cheese, the lasagna. I'm joking, but it was goofy stuff. And I was reading it to my female friends. I'd be like, "Is this true?" And it says number three. Is that? She'd be like, "Oh yeah, I hate that. I hate when men do that." So reading books can really go a long way in terms of solving whatever problem you have. And so one of the things that happens with investing, let's circle back to investing, is that a lot of people have a bad view of investing because whoever introduced them to it introduced it in the wrong way. Somebody that you saw on social media who was cute and flashy and sounded good got you to pay $20,000 for a course and you walked away and you didn't learn anything. You didn't actually learn anything that actually worked or actually applied. And this is something that I think has to kind of be sort of dealt with, not so much in a way you have to be critical of anybody, but really in a way where I encourage you to really kind of vet things to understand, like, okay, is this really gonna actually work and really apply? Because if you do investing right and you understand what to stay away from, then I think that I know for a fact it is a much better experience than if you do it wrong. And the reason you want to do it right is because if you get traumatized the first time you invest, then you're going to say, oh, all investing is bad. So this is what happens with a lot of people when they say, oh, I don't put money in the stock market or whatever. And you look at their history, chances are they did try it once and they bought some crazy stuff that their cousin told them to get and it didn't work out. Okay. All right. So let me keep reading here about social media influencers. They said it says here also over 70% of influencers rely on brand deals and sponsorships as a primary source of income. And the instability of these deals can lead to a sudden income drop if their partners fall through or if they lose followers. That's true. And I told you all, like with social media, there is that volatility, there is that risk factor. I've had two social media platforms just taken down, and I didn't know why. I had one Facebook page that was really popping. It had 600,000 people on it. This was 8 years ago, 7 years ago, and that was where the rapper Young and Made got discovered. Literally, I'm not kidding. And in fact, another famous singer got she told me she kind of got discovered on my page. Her name was Victory Boyd. Yeah, a lot of y'all know about her because her family they have a group called Infinity Song and they performed at the convention. Victory's world famous now, and I didn't even know this, but I went to Victory's one of her parties, or they have these parties where they'll go to some rich person's house and perform, and all the industry executives will come to see the person perform. So it's like small and intimate, but it's like a whole bunch of people inside a house. And she was at one of these house parties, and she's like, "I see Dr. Boyce is here, and he doesn't know this, but we were signed with Rock Nation, and nobody was really giving us any attention. And Dr. Boyce put me on his page, and then we blew up and got 3 million views, and that's when everything took off." And I was like, "Oh wow, that is so cool. That's awesome, right?" So I kind of pat myself on the back a little bit, but still, though, I just I don't care. I mean, I was happy to play my part, right? But anyway, anyway, the point of this story, besides me sounding like I'm some arrogant prick, is is that she is that these pages, this page and then my Instagram page, literally just disappeared out of the blue. And what's good and bad about it was it's like that saying where you say you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best and prepare for the worst. That would have been my strategy. So my strategy from the beginning was I said, okay, if I got all these followers on these pages, somebody could take this away in any moment. Mark Zuckerberg could decide that I'm too radical or whatever and just take me down. So you plan for that. So the same mindset you have as an investor where you diversify and you spread your risk out is exactly the same approach I took to building everything with my business. I never said I want to have one Facebook page. A lot of y'all that follow me, I don't have one Facebook page. I got dozens. And I don't even tell anybody all the pages I have because I don't want anybody knowing. You don't want people to know all your business, right? I didn't have one Instagram. I had several. When the big one went down, I just started building on the backup page. I don't have one YouTube channel. I had several YouTube channels. Just like so same thing is true even when you're investing, you diversify. You have to spread your risk out because you don't know where the risk is coming from. And risk is like this boogeyman that lives in the shadows that will sneak up on you and punch you in the face and slice your throat. Like you don't know which direction he's coming from. So risk is not just, the risk that your stock price is going to drop or the risk that that your investments are not going to make as much money as you want. It could just be, for example, if I have a lot of my money in a crypto exchange and the crypto exchange goes bankrupt because the CEO goes to prison or something, right? So you never put all your eggs in one basket. You have to spread yourself out. So even with social media, when I see people pouring in to one platform and they build this one gigantic platform, I'm always trained to think about the what ifs. Like, well, what if that one platform's gone? Like you have, I remember I met a lady who had 400,000 or 500,000 people on an Instagram page or on a Facebook page. Maybe it was like actually more like 2 million, and she built everything around this one Facebook page, and she had all these customers and all these employees and everything, and then they didn't take her page down. What they did was they throttled the traffic. Anybody remember that? Where back when you used to post something on Facebook and everybody who followed you would see your post, and then Facebook but their strategy was we want to get you to build the following, and then we're gonna sell your audience to somebody else, right? That's what they did. They started selling it through the ads, and so they would basically tell the person who built the audience, you can't access this audience unless you pay us money. That I mean, I think it's highly unethical. Mark Cuban called out Facebook for that when they did it, and so basically when they throttled this lady's audience, she said I had to fire all my employees. I lost all my customers. Our revenue dropped from 2 million a year to 200,000 or something like that, and it was terrible, right? And so you kind of have to just sort of know. They in economics they call these exogenous or black swan events. Exogenous and black swan events means that sometimes you don't know what's going to show up and sneak around and punch you in the face. You just kind of have to sort of be ready for all of that. And it is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So anyway, let me keep reading here. They said that a survey also showed in 2023 that 55% of influencers experience significant financial stress with concerns about inconsistent income, high expenses, and future financial security being the top stressors. Debt accumulation. According to a 2021 study, 40% of influencers have credit card debt exceeding $10,000, often accrued to maintain appearances or fund their content creation activities. Short career span. The average career span of a social media influencer is just 3 to 5 years. Due to the constant pressure to stay relevant, leading to burnout and financial instability when income streams dry up. So there we go. So that's the life of a social media influencer. So if you still like that and you're still okay with that and you want to move in that direction, then good luck to you. Also if you and actually I had talked about possibly doing some sort of a training on it, like some sort of class or something. If you guys are interested in that, then keep bringing it up and I can put something together. But because like I think if I was just a quote unquote content creator, it would have been very difficult to do what I'm doing. I had to really think as a full businessman, not just like, oh, I'm just going to make a bunch of YouTube videos. I think that's really a hard way to get by, and I kind of feel bad for people that are stuck in that space, and they kind of play with you, right? Like someone will become popular and they'll start making a bunch of money on YouTube, and then suddenly the money will disappear, and then they have to figure something else out. And then also it can create weird incentives, like I'm gonna tell you, I had a love hate interaction with the late Kevin Samuels because I respected him. He was smart. He was an intelligent guy. I looked at his old content and he did a whole video about me. He was very supportive. He was very, you know, like he was respectful, but I had to tell the truth that I didn't like the way the algorithm incentivized him to take on a certain type of content that I think was beneath what he could have offered to the world. If you look at Kevin Samuel's content 5 years ago, he was doing really, really powerful, instructive, productive, educational stuff for Black people. But the problem was he struggled. He struggled to get attention. So what happened was he kind of shifted his image. He would wear the black suit and he had the ticking clock and the therapist kind of set up and with the lights kind of dim and for some reason that people really like that. And then he also told that lady she was going to die alone. And that's when he went viral, mega, mega, mega viral. Everybody, there's no such thing as bad publicity, to be honest with you. So everyone was talking about it, and then what I noticed was in a lot of his videos, he started using the words "die alone" in his titles, in order to, I guess, rig the algorithm. And I didn't like it. It didn't feel good to me because I remember thinking, I kind of know women who are going to die alone, and it's not their fault. It's because things like the Biden crime bill, the Vietnam War, and the war on drugs have created an imbalance in the Black community, where a lot of households became fatherless, and as a result of that, when you look at Black adults, marriage eligible Black women, the number of marriage eligible Black women exceeds the number of marriage eligible Black men. By marriage eligible, I mean, having a high enough income level, to where you're willing and able to really provide for a family. So it's not to say, like, I told you all about that study in The Economist, where they said that for every 1 percentage point increase in the incarceration rate of Black males, there was a 2.7% decline in the percentage of Black women who got married. Did anybody else know this? How many of y'all knew this? So I'm not here to say that Kevin didn't make some good points. He did, but I think to just kind of like oversimplifying a really complex issue kind of bothered me a little bit. And I said that I'm not scared to say what the truth is. I don't care. I got God protecting me, so you can't mess with me. But then the other thing was, through time, the content, it had a kind of a toxic element to it. In fact, one of the last things he said before he died was, if you're over 35 and you're a woman, nobody wants you, right? And I was like, that's just not true. That's so many beautiful women in their 40s and 50s that are having wonderful social lives. Like, what are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense. And and then he died alone. Right? He died with this lady that he'd only known, for a couple of days or something. And I was and so I was, and so people got mad at me, but I said, so now you kind of understand, like, men can die alone too. So let's stop acting like women are the problem when all of us are the problem. We're all the problem. We have to all own the problem. I own part of the problem. You own part of the problem. And I think by carrying that load, it keeps us from getting into the blame game where we're looking for scapegoats, where we end up hating each other because our community has been put into this a shit show of a reality, where you're so busy cage fighting with each other that you don't even look up and see who built the damn cage. I told y'all about this. We talked about this yesterday. You're literally so busy fighting the person across the cage from you that you're not thinking, like, who built this damn cage? Who created this this false reality that's causing us to have to fight each other and to be in this weird scarcity mindset. It's terrible. So anyway, I think that the reason I brought up the Kevin Samuels thing is not because I'm here to disrespect him. The man passed. I want to be respectful. But I had to defend also women because when you talk about dying alone, I have a cousin in Louisville, Kentucky, my hometown, who actually opened up a house where the house is specifically for Black women who have cancer, who have nobody for them, who have nobody in their life to help them. And that, so I'm very sensitive to that kind of thing. But then the other piece of it too was, I feel like if that part of what drove Kevin to be less of a version than what I believe he could have been for the world is that clout is a hell of a drug, and money is an even bigger drug. When you have a YouTube channel that's getting millions of views on every video, hundreds of thousands of views, that's an insane amount of money. This man was probably making 100,000 a month or more on that YouTube channel. And what happens is that the money can make you sort of say, okay, I got to cater to the money. And you get to the point where the tail is wagging the dog, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. The money should not be shaping how you do things. You should be shaping how you make your money, right? So I can't really sort of so I had to be really intentional in the very beginning of everything that I did. Not that I did it perfectly, but I had to be very intentional about saying, okay, yeah, we need to make money. I want to be able to pay people, but I need to make money by being a version of me that is authentic as possible, so I don't have to make my money by pretending. I don't have to make my money by lying. So what happens is that I get uninvited to a lot of spaces. I told you all when DL Hughley called me and cussed me out and whatever. Like, so now I go to InvestFest, and Steve Harvey's running InvestFest, and he's friends with DL. So of course, politically I'm out of the loop. I never expected to be. People were like, "Well, why aren't you on the stage in InvestFest?" I'm like, "Well, because if I were them, I wouldn't invite me either, because now it's political, right? Now I'm the guy who says these things that make people think I hate rappers, which is not true. I have lots of friends that are rappers. I love hip hop, which is why I want to help change it, right? I love it, which is why I criticize it, right? I love it because which gives me the right to critique it because I know what good hip hop does and the power of good hip hop, but I also know what bad hip hop does. So I've worked with a lot of the rappers and Russell Simmons and Kanye and all these other people that I've told you about in my conversations with them. But at the same time, I also look at the community and I see what the toxic music has done, and also because I understand the economics of it all, I understand what the dungeon masters are doing to you, what the puppet masters are doing. I know what they're doing with their money. Yo, check this out. Let me tell y'all a story. This happened this morning. This was interesting. Now that it's coming to mind, my wife was telling me about an NPR story that they just did. And this is the second hand. This is her description to me this morning. We're driving, we're in the car. I'm halfway asleep because it's 5:15 and I didn't go to bed till 1, but I'm determined to try to get to the gym so I can start feeling like a man again. And I'm just listening to my wife talk because you got to listen to your wife. If you don't listen, they're going to get mad at you. So I'm listening and I'm just like, really? Oh, wow. That's wonderful, dear. Just doing what I'm supposed to do, trying to play the good husband role. But I'm really kind of tired, to be honest with you. And she tells me something that perked me up. She says, I was listening to this NPR story and they were talking about um the first big they were talking about music and advertising and how record labels really had an issue with music and advertising. And music really hit advertising big, even though it was already kind of there, it was always kind of there, but mainstream music really hit advertising big and with one campaign. And she said, which one do you think it is? I said, oh, I bet it was the Adidas campaign with Run DMC. I bet you that was I bet you that was the one that did it. And she said, yeah. She said that, and she told the story, and Russell had actually told me the story directly, and I'd heard it in other places. But basically, in case y'all don't know the story, Run DMC had that song. Y'all remember that? My Adidas, right? So they were rapping about Adidas. They didn't have an endorsement from Adidas, but they were rapping about their Adidas. And so Russell, because he's I don't know about his personal stuff. I don't know nothing about all that, but I know as a businessman and as an activist, he did everything he said he was going to do, and I had a lot of respect for that. But Russell, being the businessman that he was, called the Adidas executives and had them come to because these are a bunch of German people. I think it was a family-owned business at the time or something. So these German people come to a hip hop concert. At this time, hip hop is seen as radical and dirty and weird and nasty. And he told everybody in the audience, he told his brother Ron, he said, tell everybody to hold their Adidas in the air during the concert. So that's what he did. He said, everybody who has your Adidas on, hold it up in the air. So that 40,000 people held their Adidas up in the air. And that was Russell's evidence to Adidas, like, look, hip hop has power. Like they were the original social media influencers. They can make people buy stuff. So that was when Adidas did a deal with them. And what Alicia told me that was really interesting, I did not know this, is she said that people in the music industry had a big issue with that advertisement campaign. They had a big problem with the Adidas campaign. And the reason they had a problem with it is they said, you're promoting prison culture to the youth. Did y'all know that? They said, you're promoting prison culture. You're telling people to walk around with their Adidas to have no shoestrings in the shoes. And that's what they do in prison, just like sagging pants. This is before sagging and all that, right? But apparently, walking around with shoes with no laces in it was prison culture. And they were like, we don't want to promote prison culture. And I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was really fascinating. Now, obviously, they got past their reservations. They promote prison culture everywhere. But this, to me, is just a fascinating example of how money can create the wrong incentives. This is where this is also where hip hop kind of I think started that process of kind of going left. I think that as much as we want to, people in my generation want to look at today's music and say, I can't believe they're doing that. A lot of that kind of started in our generation. Even when yesterday I was listening to Luke Sky. Apparently Luke from Two Live Crew is like now he's a political analyst or something. He's like Team Kamala and stuff. Nothing against that, but that's what's happening. So I was listening to a live that he was doing where he was talking to people about the election and everything, and of course they were basically saying anybody who doesn't vote for Kamala is stupid. And I remember hearing Luke make he made a video where he was basically saying, anybody who is popping their coochie and shaking their butt and all this other stuff, they have us to thank for it. They should thank Two Live Crew because we were the first ones to rap about that. And I remember thinking, I don't think I'm proud of that. Like that's not that to me, that's not the kind of generational legacy that I'd want us to leave. Like we really taught you how to disrespect yourself. We taught you how to have irresponsible sex. We taught you how to degrade your women. We taught you how to just be sloppy, disrespectful men. Like that's not, I'm not proud of any of that. I don't want any part of that. And even at that time, I'll tell you the truth, even at that time when it all came out, I was like, this is terrible music. This is goofy. This is not like is everything about just nasty, weird, irresponsible sex? Like, is nothing sacred? I mean, is there nothing valuable about this experience? Like, is everything got to be reduced to a party and an orgy and going to the club? And so I kind of feel like with hip hop, I actually like the idea that there are people who understand that some elements of toxic hip hop have become kind of this cesspool of nasty, ugly racial stereotypes, very anti-family behavior, anti-woman, anti-black male, minstrel show behavior, that is ultimately self-destructive, that ultimately will lead to your children going to prison. So it's also anti-youth in that way. So as much as if you're a conservative and you might want to accuse certain groups of grooming children in a certain way, and I do believe that that kind of is, things are changing, right? I think that it's very uncomfortable for me that they want to talk so much about sexuality to children, and so I do think that there's some grooming there. You got to remember, you've let hip hop artists groom your children for prison. You've let hip hop artists groom the worst ones. I'm not talking about the good ones, not the bad ones. You let them groom your child to become a drug addict. We've allowed them to groom our kids to become criminals, to put themselves to get killed at an early age. So we, so as much as we might want to point at the youth, I mean, these are our kids, and so all of us have some role to play in this destruction, and it goes back to the economics for sure, because you have no economic benefit to having a 20-year-old boy that's sitting in rehab costing his family money when he could be out conquering the world and doing great things and bringing wealth into the family. He could be a 20-year-old millionaire, but instead he's a 20-year-old drug addict. Do you understand? She could be a 22-year-old engineer that's adding to the family wealth, but instead she's a 22-year-old hoochie mama city girl that just wants to go pop a coochie for anybody that gives her $20 in a bag of Cheetos. See, you got to understand the differences. You got to understand the shadow cost of destructive culture. The shadow cost is, remember, that's the opportunity cost. That's that cost that you're paying, but you don't even realize you're paying it because you never see the money, so you don't think there is any money there. Let me give you an example. When I was at InvestFest, a kid came up to me who had been part of the Black Business School for many years, and his name was Caden, Kayden. And I saw him, and he's like 14 now. I said, Caden, oh my God, you've grown. Last time I saw him, he was 7 or 8. Caden, I asked, so I knew Caden because Caden is really big into financial literacy. And I said, so how you been? What you been up to? So he's with his dad. We were sitting there. D1 was about to go on stage, and it was in the InvestFest crowd. So I was kind of in the corner, and in the dark area. So, and let me tell you, first off, I asked Caden, I said, you're 14. Wow, you're starting high school. That's a big deal. You know what he said? He said, no, I already graduated. I said, what? And I looked at his dad. I said, what, wait, did he say graduated? His dad said, yeah. We got him through high school already. I said, okay. Way to go, black man. This is awesome. And then I said, so what's he gonna do now? Is he gonna go to college? And he said no, because he makes 10 times more money than the average college graduate. Here's a picture of him at the White House. Like I said, this is what I'm talking about. This is what our children are capable of when you don't allow their brains to be polluted and infested with thug, hoochie, nonsense, ignorant culture. Because remember, Caden could just as easily be like a 14-year-old who's on his way to becoming addicted to Molly Percocets and in rehab. I know parents like that, by the way. I know parents who have really extraordinary talented, intelligent young sons who are 19 years old in rehab because they got them hooked on fentanyl at an early age. I know multiple families like this, right? So that's what Caden could have been that. But you know what happened? His father intervened. His father said, "No, you're not getting my child. The devil ain't coming up in my house because I'm the man of this house, and nothing's coming into this house, and nothing's going to poison my children. Nothing's going to intervene in their lives without my permission." And that required a degree of intentionality. And what I saw with Caden was I saw the potential of what our young men and young women can become when we stop sitting around letting other people raise our kids for us. When we stop letting other people tell us who we are, and we stop letting other people tell us who we're supposed to be. It's so what I'm saying is that overall, when I look at hip hop and I look at it in a real complex way, that's why nobody can really put me in a box. They try to say, "Oh, you hate rappers." No, I don't. I got 50 friends. I got more rapper friends than you got. Or, "Oh, you da da da." No, no, no. Let's talk about that. What I'm saying is that you have to address that toxic culture if you're going to ever achieve anything in this society. So, influencer culture to some extent is connected to that a little bit because rappers are tremendous influencers, and I just want to see us influence people to do things that are gonna make their lives better. All right. Okay, let me mention a couple more things before we bounce out today. And also, I want to remind you also next later on this week, I am going to work with my team and hopefully try to convince you to consider coming to the All Black National Convention if you haven't thought about it yet. I will give you all in this class an offer that hopefully you can't refuse. And those of you who already bought your passes, I can make it up to you. You can hit up our support team. We can give you something as a bonus or something as a thank you because if you did pay full price, that's fine. But I am going to change the price, and we are going to make an offer. And I want to do this for those of you that where maybe money is a barrier or something like that. And I don't want that to be the obstacle. I really would love to have all the right people together so that we can accomplish these things together. So don't let me forget to do that. And also, my books and everything else you guys know is at drboycebooks.com. So if you have some needs for your family, for your kids, feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. And later on this week, Dr. Lene Javette, who's our Dean of Entrepreneurship in the Black Business School, is going to do a special event basically for those of you that are interested in creating side hustles or businesses for yourselves and for your families. That's going to be for free. That's going to be on Friday. I will text you all the link to that event. Just get on the text list. Make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. So text morning to 87948. I'll send you all this information via text later today and during the week. So kind of look out for that. Be on the lookout for that. All right. So let me just give you a couple quick facts. We were talking about social media influencers and how they don't make as much money as you think. Also, let me end with a couple of facts about sort of what social media does to you. When you watch people flaunt their wealth on social media, you must be extremely careful because studies, they're starting to research this and conclude that it really disrupts your mental health, especially if you're sitting there watching other people appear to live these perfect lives and your life is normal, in which all of our lives have problems, but people don't put those problems on social media. So here, a 2022 study in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology found that 62% of social media users reported feeling anxious or depressed after viewing posts showcasing wealth, luxury items, or extravagant lifestyles. So when you see somebody showing off how much money they got, or they took a picture next to their new Mercedes with a bow on it, and they typed the word hashtag blessed or something on the post, it does have an effect on you. And I encourage you to become emotionally intelligent, get in touch with your feelings. And if you start feeling that way, talk to yourself about it, kind of process what's going on and sort of shift your behavior. Like maybe you have to unfollow somebody or whatever so that you don't have to have that feeling inside of you. Okay. Jealousy is just a horrible feeling to have, and especially anxiety and depression. Actually, the next statement I want to make here relates to envy and resentment. Social media makes you jealous. It says here, according to a 2023 survey by the American Psychological Association, 45% of respondents admitted to feeling envious or resentful after seeing friends or influencers flaunt their wealth on social media, leading to feelings of inadequacy and lowered self-esteem. So what I would say to you, two things. Number one, Be careful about that. I think jealousy is just such a toxic emotion. It doesn't make you a better person, more attractive. It makes you unhealthy in so many ways because you can't because it's hard for you to count your own blessings when you're counting everybody else's blessings. You know, a lot of times we lose our sense of gratitude when we start gaining that attitude where we are looking at other people and what they have and how they're doing, and we somehow feel we're competing with them. You got to get out of that cycle. And again, I told you, if I believe if you start feeling that way, you should just unfollow whatever accounts are making you feel. All of us have those people we follow to just get on our nerves or make us mad. And so just hit the little silent button. That way you won't see their content if that makes you feel better. Maybe it's me. Maybe I need to. Maybe I don't like the flaunt. So that's the other side of it too. I also believe if you are doing well, why do you have to tell everybody how well you're doing? Why tell people, I'm not a poor person. I make money, right? But I'm not interested in trying to show myself sitting in first class or riding a private jet or driving a luxury vehicle. I think that that's shallow and weird and pathetic. And also, I think that that makes people forget how blessed they are. So just kind of detach from that. They also said that 41% of this is a study at the University of Pennsylvania. They found that 41% of social media users experience increased financial stress and pressure to keep up with others after being exposed to posts about luxury purchases and vacations. So a lot of competition can emerge out of that. FOMO, another study showed that 56% of social media users, more than half, reported experiencing FOMO, fear of missing out, when they saw others enjoying their lavish lifestyles, leading to impulsive spending and poor financial decisions. Decreased life satisfaction. I could keep going. Uh, Increased spending behavior, body image concerns, mental health impact on the youth. These poor babies. Oh my God, it's terrible for them. Reduced self worth. I could keep going down the list. I just want to encourage you to just understand that social media is this big, monstrous variable that all of us are connected to. That, in my view, is something that has to be managed. It has to be managed in a proactive way because the Zuckerbergs and the people that make billions of dollars getting you to scroll, through these algorithms, um, these people have basically hacked human emotions, and they've hacked your brain, and they've gotten you to the point where you can't stop scrolling. They know exactly what to put in front of you. They know exactly what kind of bells and dings and beeps to put on the phone to keep you connected and engaged. And these individuals don't care about you. They just pretty much want to use you so they can make money. So don't let social media use you. Use social media. You need to use it. Don't let it use you. All right. Take it from a guy who's does a lot of stuff on social media. So maybe I can almost be an expert at it by now. I have no idea. But anyway, that's it, guys. I'm gonna let you all go. I will see you all tomorrow for Money in the Morning. If you want to get an invitation, make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. So text morning to 87948. And also feel free to go to theblackbusinessschool.com if you want to see what we have going on in the Black Business School. We have stock market classes. Pretty soon we're going to do another meeting of the Prime program. Actually, Prime 101 is actually today, now that I think about that. So you can actually sign up if you're interested in stock options and you want to learn how to make income from stock options. That's what we do in Prime. So feel free to go to drboyceprime.com, drboyceprime.com. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. And